Bit of a change of pace now. By any measure, you're a senior leader of the profession. Even though you're retired, you still influence a lot of us. What advice would you offer a young colleague about to start practicing the profession of civil and environmental engineering?
Don't believe you're going to be doing what you're doing for very long. You've got to be quick-footed and quick-witted. I think the idea that you're going to practice in a very narrow sense is one that leads to doom. On the other side of the coin, it's a profession where you're in control of how you spend your life, and that is wonderful.
Right.
I mean, really, you can go where you want to and do what you want to. It's an exciting time. I have very little advice for people, though. I mean, as long as they don't act stupidly and pig-headedly.
And behave ethically, that's fine.
Yeah, quite.
Let's start out with a beginning graduate student colleague who's preparing for a career in teaching and research.
Well,
there are all kinds of paths they can follow.
All types of paths, and they better be ones that interest them, but also they better make sure that they can fund it.
Right.
And what those paths are will change over a career. For both reasons, interest and funding.
In choice of a problem?
Yes.
In choice of a problem to do, say, for doctoral studies?
Yeah. Oh, what would I suggest? Make sure that you're not bound to particular methodologies or instruments or equipment.
Right.
That you, in fact, are educated as opposed to a technician.
Think big, aim high.
Yes, yeah, very much so. I mean, if you're tied to the equipment they've got at the University of A, then you're
doomed to failure.
I think you're either doomed to stay there or to rebuild the equipment at the University of B when you get an appointment. And what a dull life that would be.
Got it.
Yeah. Sorry.
There are many dimensions to you that go way beyond the profession, and as long as Sylvia and I have known you and Irene, you've been interested in art, architecture, theater, music, and people from many cultures. And just to get a little flavor here, what are two of your favorite pieces of architecture?
Oh, Ericsson's building on the UBC campus, the Anthropological Museum,
right,
and Pay's East Wing at the National Gallery of Art.
I am Pay's new wing. That's a stunning. They're both stunning piece of architecture.
I mean, these just overwhelming. I'll go back over and over again for the architecture as well as what's in those places. Yeah.
What are your two favorite art galleries?
Oh. Phillips and the new San Francisco Modern Museum of Modern Art. I find it a dazzling place, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean the definition of modern leaves something to be desired at times, but it's dazzling to me, yeah.
The building is stunning.
The building's stunning, but the art is interesting. Let's put it like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to choose to attend a live orchestral concert, what would be your desired program, and which symphony hall would you like the works to be performed?
God. Nothing to do with music. I'd go the last night at the Proms in the Albert Hall.
Okay.
Jingoism, Union Jacks.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you see your country at its best and worst on that day.
Perhaps you could even bring Colin Davis back as a young man to conduct it.
Exactly. Before that, the other ones I was there as a boy and things like that. I mean, that's nothing to do with music, but it's a wonderful occasion.
Experience. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Let's leave it at that one. I think you summed up your view of what civil engineering could be, where it fitted in society, beautifully in your 1995 Evans lecture, the lecture that's endowed by the Evans family for civil engineering. And the title is Trapped in One's Own Times, The Individual's Relationship to Education and Practice. And you published that in Civil Engineering Systems in 1996. And there's some parts from that I just want to read, because I think it says an enormous amount about how you view the world. And I want to start out with a piece on page 8, and let's see if I can read the fine print with my readers. The work of civil engineers changes the world. It is hope for the better. It is like a painter starting with a blank sheet and composing on it a picture. The difference is that the painter can rip up the work if not satisfied. The engineer cannot. In this spirit, Brunel painted a watercolor of the suspension bridge across Clifton Gorge near Bristol, which he designed, which was not built until after his death.
That's correct.
The picture can be viewed as his vision of the changed world. This is a remarkable picture and indicates an approach that could be a part of engineering education and is not. It would involve starting with a blank sheet of paper and painting the world as it is, and then adding the changes that would occur after the completion of the civil engineering project. The changes on the painting would ensure that the world would never be the same again. I think that there is often a closer relationship between engineering and painting than there is to the sciences. The painting analogy refers to the process of meeting the objectives of decision-making, whereas the sciences are but a constraint on the decisions.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that today.
I've not seen a more cogent summary of the field, and my guess is it took you about 40 years to put that down.
Yeah.
Not a bad...
But I doubt if I ever had that idea until later on in that period of time. But I agree with it now.
One of the parts of that lecture, which I was fortunate to attend, you came up with some timelines, and you worked with 50-year increments, 1800 and then 1850 and so on, and you put down a list of things that influenced the world. And for 1800, you picked up, amongst other things, the Industrial Revolution. In 1850, the Otis elevator.
Yeah.
And the Brooklyn Bridge. There are two things there. There are others you have. 1900, you pick up on DDT. And in 1950 onwards, amongst other things, you picked up on Sputnik or Sputnik, depending where you say it. Your thoughts on the Industrial Revolution and what that did?
Well, from the point of view of structural engineering, it changed things. Before then, you built with your natural materials, wood and stone. After that, you built with constructed materials, steel, iron, concrete after a bit, and things like that. The control changed completely. The way of thinking of things, manufacturing, you built things and bought them out, put them together. Contemporary engineering is really a creature of that revolution, and it wasn't just the steam engine and the motive power and things like that. It was, in fact, new materials being introduced and the control of the manufacture and use of those materials. Right. Remarkable time.
A huge change.
Huge change. And giants of the profession emerged at that time. Yeah.
Otis elevator and Brooklyn Bridge. We're now looking from 1850 on.
Well, very much to do with structures, but you can't have high-rise buildings without being able to get up them, and walking up the stairs is a bit of a bore. Right. So that must have been an opportunity.
A huge change.
Yes, and the Brooklyn Bridge doubled the span of bridges, made people realise that what you were doing before was not a constraint on what you did in the future.
Right.
It really opened the eyes of
what could be done.
Yes, quite. Yes. Nothing technical, but I mean, it was. We can do anything we want.
We can now do it.
Yeah.
DDT and of course Rachel Carlson. Pointing out the negatives. Your observation on that one?
Well, when I was a soldier, in order to save washing linen and things like that, the whole place was sprayed with DDT. My friends from the equatorial regions said that it completely changed their life, and the abatement of malaria as a indigenous disease and things like that. In one case, of course, it was taken away because of the danger it was doing to the environment, and therefore you don't spray your house, your barracks, and everything else with DT. But it's also been taken away from the public health point of view, and we've not done a very good job in abating malaria, which is probably one of the most nasty, debilitating diseases that exists, and the most prevalent.
Right.
I mean, don't tell me that people in the equatorial regions can't work very hard. You can't work very hard if you've got malaria, and most of them have.
Right. Let's go to the last half of the last century. Sputnik.
Well,
it happened to go up on October 4, 1957. It could have gone up sooner.
Yeah.
But it was 40 years to the day
That's
of
right.
the Russian Revolution.
That's right.
And a lot of people have never put the two together.
Well, I guess I'm here because of Sputnik, because it changed the whole educational scheme and very quickly in this country. I mean, within years, the whole of undergraduate and graduate education was changing in engineering. The opportunity to do graduate work was endless as a consequence of the funding that went on the post-Sputnik work in this country. It wasn't just rocketry and things like that. It was much broader. It was the realization that if Russia was doing this, they were probably pretty good at other forms of engineering as well. And a competitive mode, but my goodness, it made an enormous difference to my life.
It was something like an 83 or an 86 kilogram object.
Right. Yeah, at 150 pounds, something like
managed
that.
to send out signals for 21 days on 2 frequencies to let the world know it.
That's right. Well, look, we can do anything, they were saying.
And that changed the world.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Colin, at the start of that paper, or your lecture, I think this summarizes a huge amount of your professional life. And it's trapped in one's own times. A concern here is about the consequences of being a professional. What are the joys? What are the realities? How does it affect individuals like myself? To practice a profession requires study and education. The professional has intellectual skills and solves problems, not only by reasoning, but also by intuition. It requires a frame of mind rather than cleverness. It is a life that involves dealing with matters by both reasoning and discussion. Finally, the professional must make decisions, and those decisions will be of substance. They are enduring, often irreversible, and have consequences over a long period of time. I think that summarizes crisply a huge amount of your understanding of what the profession is all about.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, yes.
It's been an absolute treat having this time with you here today, and I make a little observation just as we're closing, that we're influenced by our times and events, and in many instances by family and immediate friends. And you've been fortunate to have Irene, Jenny, and Sarah to sharpen your thinking over a huge range of topics. And your precious granddaughter is likely to have profound influence on all of you in the coming years. Thank you for the privilege of this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, good friend.